we're going to talk today about how to use LED lighting to shoot outdoor portraits. I've been very blessed to be able to have used all of the red light products and non-red light products, to be fair. I've used Stella, I've used some Godox LEDs, and I've used, obviously, majority of the work that I've done has been with red light LED. And so I'm going to talk to you guys about the stuff that I use and how you can really maximize your work to get the best results. Obviously, I'm still somebody who uses traditional strobe, so I will be able to answer those questions because regardless of anything that I do, it always is about finding the right gear that works for you and finding the right gear that helps you deliver the images and the work that you're looking to create. So at the end of all of this, I'm happy to answer any and all questions that any of you have. By the way, if you're watching this and you want to register, and it's free, register for the other sessions, just go to jacelanier.com/lighting and you can register for the other two sessions that we're going to be doing. All right, so I've been very fortunate to have used, again, all of these different LED lighting lights and been able to and I've been able to really play with them and see what I can do and can't do with the lights. Over the last month, Rhodolite has come out with a new product, the Anova Pro 3. And I'm going to be showing you a series of shots that I've done with that, but also the Aeos 2 Pro to kind of address some of the issues that I know, or maybe not issues, but the questions that I know that people will have out there. The power differential between an Aeos 2 Pro and an Anova Pro 3, some of the advantages, so on and so forth. And so let's get into it. So this is one of the shoots that I did, and you'll see a video coming out on this later this week with a beautiful model named Natasha and a beautiful dog named Ozzy. Up in London area, and a really beautiful shoot. This was on the Anova Pro 3, and it kind of exemplifies exactly what we're trying to work towards with our work here. So the agenda for this live stream will be, we're going to talk about the changes in LED technology and how that helps to benefit us. We're going to talk about when and where to use LED lighting outdoors for best results. We're going to talk about how to maximize LED lighting, because one thing that people will say to me as I'm doing some of these presentations, or when I do some events, people come up to me and say something like, "Oh, I tried this and it didn't work like it did in your video." And the first thing I will always say to them is, "What did you do? Did you do what I did in the video? Did you try something very different? If you tried something very different, that's fine. You're courageous and you're inventive and you're going out on your own, but don't expect the same results if you're not doing something as I'm showing you how to do it." So that being the case, I'm going to talk to you about how I maximize LED lighting and where I can, use it to get the results that I'm seeking. In this demonstration, or this presentation, I should say, we're going to be talking about two main lights. We're going to be talking about the Aeos 2 Pro and the Anova Pro 3. And I use these two examples of both shooting at the beach to exemplify the difference between the two lights. There is a power differential between the two lights. The Anova Pro 3 is obviously brighter. Obviously, the brighter light gets, the more we can use it, wherever we're shooting. You can use them in different circumstances, but the Anova Pro 3, just because of the increased brightness opportunities, you can get some better results with the Anova Pro 3. And you can talk about the advantages from a portability standpoint with the Aeos 2 Pro. So I'm going to address both of those two in this presentation. Also, because I know I'll inevitably get some questions about it. We obviously, the other player in the mix in the Rhodolite family is the Neo 3 Pro. The Neo 3 Pro is something that I'm not going to address in this presentation, only because the Anova Pro 3 is new. That number one. Number two, the Anova Pro 3 is where a lot of the questions are going to sit with a lot of folks. And also, when it comes to shooting outdoors, all of us already know, or a lot of us already know, what we can do in darker situations or darker conditions when we are utilizing LED lighting. But we are continually asking the question as to what we can do in a brighter situation when we're shooting in daylight or something of that nature. And that's why we're going to focus on those two lights, and we're going to focus on brighter daytime conditions to help people understand what the possibilities are. So yeah, this is a shoot that I did out in Toronto. Excuse me, it's actually Niagara Falls, but this was done with the Anova Pro 3. You'll see this in an upcoming video as well, but this was done with the Anova Pro 3, where I've really gone and tested it to see what the possibilities are with this light in a continuous and in a flash mode. And that's why today we're going to be focusing on using these lights in daylight conditions. All right, so now that we've set the parameters, oh, and by the way, at the very end of all this is going to be a Q&A session. You guys can ask me any and everything that you want at that point related to this topic. And then I'll do my utmost best to help you in any way possible. Also, I just wanted to know, a quick note, is that I am also recording this as a podcast. So if you can't watch all of this or whatever it may be, you will see some of this, or you'll see this come out as a podcast to be able to listen to as well. I'm trying to simulcast, if you will, or use these opportunities to get this information out there. So I hope you enjoy that. For those who listen to my podcast, it's a lot of fun. You should check it out. Changes in LED technology. Obviously, one of the first things that always, not one of the first things, the first thing that always is at the forefront of my interest when new lights come out are power. When I have something like a traditional strobe come out, it's funny to look at the differences between the two. So when you have something like a Godox or a Profoto and you're looking at a new light that comes out, power is usually not the issue. The issue is recycle time. The issue is if they've improved it, recycle time. The issue is if they've improved the battery performance, because typically batteries will just evaporate in the traditional strobes, especially if you're using them in humid or hot conditions. So when we're looking at advancements in traditional strobe technology, those are the areas that we're always looking for. When we're looking at LED technology, the innovations and changes that I'm looking for whenever a new light comes out is it brighter? And that's because we don't worry about recycle time and we don't worry about battery duration as it relates to using flash with LED technology. So as a result, every time a new light comes out, that's the main question I have. Is it brighter? So whether it's the Neo 3 Pro or like when they come out with a Neo 4 Pro or an Aeos 3 Pro or whatever new iteration of light that comes out, that's going to be first and foremost, how bright is it? So to answer that question off the bat, the Aeos 2 Pro, the Anova Pro 3 is definitely brighter than the Aeos 2 Pro. This is a photo walk that I did. This is just a quick little BTS that I did, a photo walk I did in Venice Beach just a week ago. And that's the Anova Pro 3 illuminating the model. This was just a simple shot taken with my cell phone, unedited, just quick cell phone shot of some of the attendees who were shooting one of the models while there were others who were shooting the other model. You can see on the sand that there's light there. That's not photoshopped in any way. You can see there's light there, and she's rimlit by the sun. So that gives a great illustration of the amount of output that you're going to look at when you're going to use the Anova Pro 3. This was shot at full 100% constant lighting with the Anova Pro 3. And you can tell that the model is completely illuminated from head to toe. This is a real representation of what you could look at from a brightness performance, from this light. Also, the things that we have watched over the years with LED technology and the changes that have come about have been, they offer high-speed sync flash, no recycle time, as well as, obviously the ability to stream light on your subject in a continuous manner. One thing that somebody just brought up because of the new A9 III and the global shutter, and it can shoot at 120 frames per second. There's people on here who are not Sony shooters, so I'm not going to go down the Sony rabbit hole very far at all. But when someone even mentions 120 frames per second as you're talking about utilizing it with flash, even at 20 frames per second, it's pretty much imperceptible. The opportunities that would exist with no recycle time flash. In other words, you really wouldn't notice it. Even when I would shoot NFL games with the old A9 and I would go at 20 frames per second, the variance between the two is so little. And for those who are video heads out there, for those who love video, it's also worth noting that video frame rates are typically shot, unless you're looking at slow motion, video frame rates for a film are 24 frames per second. Video frame rates for typical video would be at 30 frames per second. Slow motion would be 120 frames per second. So when anytime anybody ever quotes or talks to you specs about frames per second and what you would look for, if you tried to shoot, or if you did shoot 120 frames per second with a flash that had no recycle time, you might as well just film video, because you're going to be doing slow motion. That's all slow motion work, because a 20 to 24 to 30 frames per second is all going to be the changes. Even if a model is dancing, if you have a ballerina, the changes in what the model would do and how that would be perceptible to your eye would be so minute. Like her finger, even if she's moving her arms in a very quick manner, her fingers would be slightly different when you're shooting at 60, 120 frames per second. So just keep that in mind, because I know people are excited about that, and that's really cool that Sony did that. But from a practicality standpoint, I just wanted to address that quickly. Again, the other advantages of the LEDs is you get RGB and white balance capability. With the Rotolight, you're getting touchscreen. And the new additions to the technology family as it relates to what the Anova Pro 3 can do is that you get Magic Eye, and which is the light's ability. It has sensors inside the light that will pick up either the white balance, and just like your camera would set an auto white balance, this is the first light now that will actually set auto white balance on the light. Pretty cool stuff. And the other thing is that the Anova Pro 3 is water resistant. It's not waterproof, you can't submerge it, but it is water resistant, which is a really big benefit for some of the shoots that you're trying to do, whether it's, if you live in a rainy condition, if you're trying to shoot in some sort of a rainforest, if it's in a very humid environment where there's just condensation that's going to build up on the light, things of that nature. Or even if you're doing something as simple as, which I do a lot, setting the light on the ground may be wet. Having that water resistance can be beneficial to a lot of photographers in a lot of different circumstances, depending on what it is that they're trying to do. So those are some of the changes that we're seeing, and I hope to see these changes continue in the future iterations of like the Neo 4 Pro and the Aeos 3 Pro. And I'm hoping that the Pro version lights of these will all have this water resistance as well as the Magic Eye, and I always hope that they are brighter. All right, so now let's talk about when to use LED lighting outdoors. I'm addressing the difference between the two because I've gone around and I've done a lot of demonstrations with this, and the questions I get online almost all relate to the Aeos 2 Pro versus Anova Pro 3, and that's why I'm addressing it here, to try to be as transparent and helpful as I possibly can. So with the Aeos 2 Pro, you're pretty much going to use it and shoot with it outdoors, either in a continuous or in a flash mode. When you're in a little bit of a darker condition, you're not going to shoot it in the middle of the day. If there's no diffusion, if there's no sun, or excuse me, if there's complete sun and no diffusion, you're not going to use it. In that circumstance, you're going to use it something similar to what you would see here, where you have golden hour. Golden hour is perfect for these kinds of lights. And one big recommendation, you'll see this in some of the tips and tricks that I have at the end, but one big recommendation to really maximize these lights is, well, you can do two things. And again, I'm just being as straight as I can. Two things. Number one, if you're shooting with these lights and you're shooting with the light to your back, and you're using the light to illuminate your subject, you can put the Rotolight on them, but that's pretty much using a lot of the sun's power. And then if you're looking to augment it in a little bit of a way with the Rotolight, you can do that. But where you really maximize the output on LED portraiture outdoors with these types of lights is when you put the sun to the back of your subject. And the reason why that's so important is you put their face in the shade when you do that. And when you do that, you give the light the opportunity to be able to illuminate, because otherwise it's not fighting against the sun, it's working with it, because you're shading that your subject's face. So anytime you're shooting with LED portraiture outside, try to put their back to the sun and block the sun. And that's kind of a good trigger, a good way for you to know, because if you are shooting and their head or the sun is so bright that you can't block the sun with their back, then that's kind of a sign that it's not the right time to use it, because it's going to be too bright anyways, unless it's overcast. So this is the kind of environment. It's a good representation here of when you would use the Aeos 2 Pro outdoors. Conversely, this is a great example of when you would use the Anova Pro 3 outdoors. Both lights were used with the smart softbox on them. And both, as you can see, were done at the beach, sun to the back of your subject. But as you can see with the Anova Pro 3, I was able to use the Anova Pro 3 in a much brighter environment. So just hopping back real quick, when we look at the Aeos 2 Pro, these are both shot at full power. This is Aeos 2 Pro at the golden hour, once the sun is really dipping under the horizon there, and we're getting those colors, which is very beautiful. But trying to shoot it before then, you're not going to get as good of a result as you want. Versus the Anova Pro 3, you can truly see that increased amount of power that is hitting your hitting the subject, the model there. His name's Ryan. He's a really cool guy. But you can see, yes, the sun is getting closer to the horizon. That's just done for artistic purposes. But you can see there's definitely an increase in light output that I'm getting with the Anova Pro 3 versus the Aeos 2 Pro. And if you really want a good representation, if you want to be able to read how much light is ambient light versus how much light is being created by the light, look at the shadow on the shoulder area here. On his left shoulder, as we're looking at it, it's the right side of the demonstration presentation. But right here, this shadow area is exactly where you can see just how much light is being pushed out by the light itself versus ambient conditions. So you can truly see how much the Anova Pro 3 is illuminating him versus what I would get with an Aeos 2 Pro. So there definitely is a discernible difference in power output, because that's one of the number one questions I'm getting, and that's why I'm trying to show you examples and be as upfront and honest as I can about it. Where to use the LED lighting outdoors? This is the Aeos 2 Pro. This is using it in a dappled light scenario, but in any of these scenarios, even though dappled light may be behind you, you're still going to want to put your subject in a shaded area. And even if I was shooting with traditional strobe, I would still do something similar, because you want to mitigate any harsh light that's coming in on them, especially if this is 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, which is when I shot this wedding. You're still going to want to put them in an area or in an environment where there's some shading that's occurring on your subject. So you would do that for traditional strobe and for LED lighting. But for LED lighting, it's even more important than when you do it with traditional strobe, simply because traditional strobe is stronger than LED lighting from a power output standpoint. So you want to make sure when you're using LED lighting to definitely do this, this as an example. Now you can see the modifier on the light here. This is again the Aeos 2 Pro. With this modifier, there's no modification on this light. You can't see that in the presentation, but I removed all of the inner diffusion and outer diffusion on this modifier, because otherwise it wouldn't have enough light output to be able to illuminate my subject, which is the model, or excuse me, this is a real wedding. This is a bride named Megan. So why am I using a modifier? I'm using a modifier to direct the light. So that's very important anytime that you are in a scenario where you're trying to use lighting. Always use a modifier. Going back to these two, the smart softbox is on, but if I'm not getting enough light, like in this circumstance here with Ryan, the smart softbox is on the Anova Pro 3, but there's no diffusion on the light. There's no diffusion on the modifier on the smart softbox. I'm using that smart softbox to help direct the light. Yes, you could use barn doors, but barn doors kind of just a personal preference. They kind of get in the way for me. So I really like to use modifiers to direct the light versus barn doors. Barn doors are noisy. These, again, this is a personal preference thing, but I really do prefer to use a modifier to direct the light when possible. I also like the multi-use opportunities that using a modifier present to me, because if I'm already using a modifier with no diffusion on it, then when I do need that diffusion, I don't have to reset up, take the barn doors off, put the modifier back on. I already have the modifier. Now all I have to do is just, put any modification, diffusion layers, inner baffle, that kind of stuff into the modifier to be able to soften it more when I start shooting in a darker environment. So as you can see here, this is when I would use the Aeos 2 Pro outdoors. As a comparison, this is when I would use the Anova Pro 3 outdoors. So clearly you can see I'm still utilizing the same aspects of shooting setting my subject in a shady environment. And this is the shots you're seeing here. This is the prime video that you're going to see that I did with this is a model named Natasha. You're going to see this in a video come out of her with a dog, being able to really utilize this lighting outdoors. It should also be stated that I shot with the Anova Pro 3 in continuous mode. I like to use it in continuous mode because not only is it great for to be able to illuminate my subject, but I also shot it with a continuous mode because it's honestly great for my videos. So when you guys watch my videos, you can actually see the light that's illuminating her versus just that little quick pop of flash. So that's done from a practicality standpoint to make sure that I'm really showing what it can do, and you can judge for yourself if it would work for you or not. I also did take the opportunity to use the light on, as you can see on the picture on the right, on the little doggy there, Ozzy. And you can see that her eyes, I know it's a guy's name, but the dog is actually a girl, but the dog's eyes are illuminated. So clearly that's being done by the light. You can also see the light, the variance in light between the right ear and the left ear of the dog. You can definitely see where that light is impacting the subject and is illuminating exactly what I want to do. And this was really fun for me to do because, obviously I shoot a lot of models and it's really fun, but I also wanted to show people some of the opportunities that existed when I would do something like pet photography, because there are tons of folks out there who make a lot of money or just have a lot of fun shooting pets. And so I'm trying to branch out and show some different things that are possible with some of the different lighting sets that we have. So you are still going to want to do the Anova Pro 3, or as it relates to the subject here, where to use the Anova Pro 3. You're still going to want to use this in a shadier environment. But again, you know, if I was doing traditional strobe, I would still want to do something similar, because look how beautiful that is. It's beautiful dappled lighting, beautiful leading lines, and you can really get some really beautiful results. Also, it should be stated that what you're looking at from the images here are, this is the Anova Pro 3, and any of the folks, myself included, who have been using the Anova Pro 3, we're not using them at full power. It may say 100% power on the light, but we're not using them at full power because they are not 100% full power capable yet. So that's a good thing for those who want to see power output on the lights. We should get 20 to 30% more out of the production model of the Anova Pro 3 than we're getting out of the model that all of us are testing right now. So just anytime you do testing on cameras or lights, the first versions of these lights, the prototypes come out and you test them, but then the production models work out the kinks and you get more power, more processing, whatever it may be, depending on the product that you're using. And so just wanted to make that point that what you're seeing out of this model here, this light output on the model is not the full capabilities of the Anova Pro 3. And I've said this a lot, as soon as they can get me a production model of the full capabilities, I will share that with all of you as soon as humanly possible. So a few more examples of the Anova Pro 3, that discernible increase in power. Again, this was my number one question, which is why it's the number one thing I'm trying to show, because this is what people want to know. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money to drop on a new light. And is it right for you? All of those questions. And that's why I'm trying to show it to you. So you can clearly see the light that's on the model's face here. This is Brianna. You can see the light that's on her face there, just coming straight in from the light. I like to take production shots like this so it actually shows the lighting that's occurring on the front side of her chest, her arms, her face. This the side of the body that's facing the light, you can see the light on her, versus the back end. You can see there's not that light there. You can see the shadow area behind her head. Another example of light output, you can see the light that's coming in on her versus the shadow on the light that's coming in on the side of the face that's facing the light, versus a light that is not hitting her, and you can see the shadow pattern behind her. One more quick example here. Again, you can see where, and you'll see this in the video as well, my friends, but you can see the light coming in, the light hitting the front of her face and the front of her body, versus the fall off behind over on the other side of the neck. So I hope that this helps to answer some of the questions out there, because I know if I was looking at a light, or if I was interested in the light, I would definitely want to know what it can do power-wise, because as I said earlier, LED technology already does so much. The key question for me and for nearly everyone out there is, where's the power? How much power do we have? And again, the reason for that is because the more power, the more we can do with it. And one thing that I should say that's very important to me and should be important to other photographers is understanding that the more power that you have, there's also a relationship between the more power that you get out of a light, the more you can modify the light. So more power, more modification equals softer light. That's the holy grail of soft light diagram, according to me. So if we continually get more power, then we can modify that light, which increases the quality of the light, which in turn gives you much better results if you are a soft light fan like I am. All right, so let's talk about how to maximize LED lighting outdoors. These are some quick tips and tricks of things that I've done over all these many years, and I hope they help all of you out there. For those wondering, the shot with the gentleman here, Alio, this was a fire shot. This was with the Aeos 2 that I did. And as you can see, I shot it at the right time of day to be able to bring out, everything that I wanted. So understanding when to shoot and use something, that's why I addressed when and where to use these lights, because that is where you're going to get your best results. So if you want great results, follow the tips and tricks that I'm showing you, use the lights when and where I tell you to use them, and that's how you're going to get the results that you want to get. Because nothing is more frustrating than having an idea in your head, you want to get something done, and it doesn't come to fruition because you're not using it when it can be used. It's like taking a Ferrari out into a mud pit. You're going to be disappointed. Or it's like taking, a monster truck onto a racetrack. You're going to be disappointed. You have to pick the right tool for the right job, and when you do so, take that Ferrari out on the racetrack or take the monster truck into the mud pit, you're going to be happy. Just make sure to use the right tools at the right times. So how to maximize LED lighting outdoors. Avoid the middle hours of the day unless there is diffusion from the sun. So, going back to this shoot here with Brianna with the fall leaves, it's very beautiful up in Niagara Falls right now. We have beautiful fall leaves. This was done at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but it was an overcast day. So I was able to get some really nice results because it was the right tool for the right job. But you have to, again, understand that when you're going out there to do it. Find shade to allow your subject to open their eyes and block harsh light. So I said it earlier, but even if you were using traditional strobe, you would still want to put somebody, when possible, into more of a shadier environment, or at least have them rim lit by the sun. Like I said earlier, put their back to the sun. And you do that by putting them, in those correct positions. That also allows them to open their eyes. So unless you're shooting somebody with sunglasses on, which some people like, and I definitely do it sometimes as well, but unless you really want to do only a sunglasses only shoot, then you 100% want to try to find something to block harsh light. I will also say this: natural light shooters, and I've said it a million times, natural light when it's perfect, there's nothing better than it. But it's only perfect, a couple hours, if that, a day, weather depending. So what you want to do is know when and where to use what. So I say all of that because natural light shooters will also put their subjects into the shade. Well, the difference with a natural light only shooter, if they only shoot natural light, is they will get a lot of color cast. So that's something that's very important to understand. So if you're putting your subject, especially if they have a lighter complexion, the more lighter complexion your subject has, the more color cast they're going to pick up. So if they have complexion like me, I'm a white guy, I'm going to get, if I'm under a tree and the sun's coming through and it's pushing green light through the leaves, my face is going to turn green. And so that's another reason why when you do put your subject into the shade, if you can illuminate them with lighting, it makes a world of difference, not only to give them catch light and things of that nature, but it also really enhances the look of the image because you're controlling the shadows and you are mitigating and eliminating color cast. That's very, very important. The other thing that I was talking about earlier is using a modifier or barn doors to direct the light. Again, when you're dealing with LED lighting, because it's not as powerful as traditional strobe, the last thing you want to do is have any light loss. So if you're going out there and you're just shooting it, and you're not directing that light at all, that light's spilling out the sides. So it's very, very, very important that you direct that light either with, again, a modifier, or, well, a modifier. The only time I'll ever really get into using umbrellas and such is when I'm shooting in a very darker environment where I really want to spread that light. That's when you bring out the big 7-foot parabolics and stuff. That's a beautiful time to use those big umbrellas. But if you really want to push the light and get the most out of your LED, don't use an umbrella outdoors. In brighter conditions, you're not going to get a very good result. Again, put the sun at your subject's back. At the subject's back to use as rim lighting. So, you can always have 2-point lighting if you understand how to use Mother Nature as an assistant. So always try and do that. Make sure that you're putting the rim light to your subject's back when possible. Using flash mode to conserve battery consumption. So, one advantage of LEDs is that, you can get a long battery life out of the lights when you're using them in flash mode. But if you're not, you will go through the batteries pretty quick. So, like the Aeos 2 Pro takes 1 V-mount battery and the Anova Pro 3 takes 2 V-mount batteries. Now, they will last a long time, but if you use them correctly. So a couple points is I will always turn the lights off when I'm not using them. I just don't leave them on. Just think of it as leaving the air conditioning on when you leave your home. It's just a waste of money. And also, I will put them in flash mode when possible. One more point that's very important on battery conservation is when you're using the lights. If you can get away with using 80% or less, especially on the rotolights, and this was true when I shot Stella too, by the way. When you do 80% or less, the lights will stay cool enough to where the fans will not have to kick on. When those fans kick on is when those fans suck up so much battery consumption. So if you can keep your lights 79% or less, you'll really conserve a lot of battery for what it's worth. When you are shooting them in the brightest conditions, if you're all out of options and you just need as much light as you can get, use bare bulb on your LED lights. That's one benefit of being able to use LED lighting, not Stella. Stella, you can't shoot bare bulb. It does not look good. But with Rotolight, you can shoot bare bulb and get some really great results because of just the way the light is made. That's just the truth. I mean, just the physical dimensions of the fact that it's already spread out. You can shoot at bare bulb and get some much better conditions or results, I should say, than when you do that with the traditional strobe or other types of LEDs. And most importantly, I'm going to be doing to try to demonstrate some of these techniques and how I will edit for LED lighting. I'm going to be doing a live stream on the 14th, so make sure to pay attention to that. I'll also be doing a live stream on Sunday, November 12th from 10 a.m. to, so that's what, 3 days from now. I'll be doing a live stream on the 12th. I'll be showing you guys how to use smoke and fog machines with your LED lighting for great results. And just a quick tip on that. One of the main reasons I would choose to use LED lighting for smoke and fog machines is that whole thing I'm seeing, what you see is what you get, is so amazing when you incorporate LED lights with fog machines. It's incredible. And then again on the 14th, I'll be doing an editing session where you'll get to watch me edit some of my images and show you what I do on some of the images that I've shown you to create the results that you see. So if you guys are interested in any of this stuff, you can look at the Neo 3 Pro or the Aeos 2 Pro and go to rotolight.com/JasonOffers. You can enter the password there. It's Jason Lanier, and that'll get you in there, and you'll get like 20% off of these lights off of the Neo 3 Pro or Aeos 2 Pro. And Rotolight is doing the Anova Pro 3 on their Kickstarter right now. So you can go to rotolight.com/Kickstarter and pledge there. And one thing that is worth noting is if I didn't find this out until halfway during the Kickstarter, but if you do go and pledge $1 on the Kickstarter, it also opens up the store for you to be able to get discounts on accessories and stuff too. So that's worth noting if you're a current Rotolight user. And my 2024 workshop schedule is coming out this month. Make sure to stay on top of that because we're going to have a blast in 2024. And also feel free to join me on my Patreon channel, which is www.patreon.com/JasonLanierPhotography. So with that being said, I'm now going to open it up into a question and answer session for all of you out there. And I hope this has been beneficial for all of you. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to now I'm going to grant you guys the opportunity to unmute yourself. So you can now unmute yourself and ask a question, whatever you may have. And I will do everything in my power to answer it to the best of my capabilities.
Jason, I have a quick question.
Go for it.
What's the sweet spot with like a spray and pray, like 10 or 20 shots frames per second?
Yeah.
What would be better, like 10?
Well, it just depends. I mean, we go crazy, and I've had to learn over the years, for anybody who's come to any of my events, when I demonstrate the no recycle time flash on the Rotolight, it's really cool, but I hate going back into my home and then I look at the memory card and I've got 240 shots or 300 whatever shots of the same thing. So I think you have to be selective with what you want to do with it. Also depends on the camera that you're utilizing. I shoot with A7 IV, so it depends on if you want to depends on what you're doing. But unless there's something very specific, I think 20 frames a second is more than enough, to be honest.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. What other questions do you guys have, and ladies?
Jason, when you are out shooting with the Anova Pro 3, what do you use in the rain for your hair light in the back if you need one? But we don't have anything other than the Anova Pro 3 that can handle it. I was just curious, what do you use?
I'm only laughing because I still put my Aeos 2 Pro out there and just do a quick little prayer. But truthfully, I would probably say that I would do I mean, if it was raining, again, if you think about the conditions, if it's raining, chances are that you're going to get you're going to have street lights and stuff like that on. So that's probably what I use for rim light, because you're going to get a really darker environment. I would try to find a street sign, a business sign. Again, thinking about the conditions out there, if it's going to be rainy, then it's going to be dark, or at least dark. Yeah, it's going to be pretty dark. And so car lights. You know, I get pretty creative with that kind of stuff, but I guess if you really had to, you could take you could take a big saran, you could not saran wrap, that would choke the light, but you could take like a big you know, plastic grocery bag, and you could put your Anova Pro 3 or your Aeos 2 Pro in there. But understanding, you know, I've always found that I could put my Aeos 2 or Neo 3 on the ground, and if it got splashed a little bit, it wasn't the end of the world. But it's that constant rain that would break it. So I guess it depends. Set it on the ground and put an umbrella, like a real umbrella over it. I would do stuff like that. Turkey baking bags can work to keep things dry. There you go. So for all the chefs out there, go get some turkey baking bags.
Keep an extra one after Thanksgiving or so.
Exactly. That's all you gotta do. That's all you gotta do.
Okay.
What else?
What next Rotolite will they produce that will be like the Aeos, the Anova Pro 3? What one do you think they'll go to make it that water resistance or waterproof outside?
This is just my opinion. I have no insider information. I haven't asked, but even on the presentations that I've been doing, I'm hoping that the like the Neo, because right now we're on the Neo 3, so I'm hoping that the Neo 4 and then the Aeos 2, we're on the Aeos 2, so I'm hoping that the Neo 4 and the Aeos 3 regular versions will be non-water resistant and just come brighter, and you know, whatever bells and whistles they come out with. But I'm hoping that the Pro versions of those lights will be water resistant. You know, once you introduce that water resistance into the equation, you know, it's hard for people to not want it on all of the other, you know, versions of the lights. So that's what I would say.
Okay.
Hey Jason, what's up, man?
What's up, baby boy?
Not much, man. You taught me how to shoot, and I'm grateful about that.
You're welcome, brother. How can I help you?
Yeah, this is Marty McFly. I sometimes post in your group.
Yeah, I saw the post you did today. That's a pretty model.
Oh, thanks, man. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, because I was in New York City, but now I'm kind of like based in Brazil, which is a nightmare getting electronic shipped there, you know, as you know. Now the unique situation that I'm in, because I've had everything pretty much except for the original Aeos.
Okay.
I had the Titans, I now have the Anova Pro 2s. Also I have the Neo 3 Pros, a couple of those. So the situation I had when I went to the beach, obviously the power, and I wasn't shooting at 12 o'clock, but more like 10:30 in the morning, because I try to get there like 5 a.m. But as soon as the sun started to creep out, I had a little issue. So when I seen you guys come out with the Anova Pro 3, I've been talking with Rod a little bit, you know, back and forth, and what I'm looking for, and it's okay if this can't happen, but the problem I had was balancing. Let's just say if I'm going to 8,000 shutter speed, but I want to shoot at 5.6,
right?
Which kind of leaves me at a low ISO, because you know, the more I raise the ISO, the more the background comes up. Is the Anova Pro good for those type of situations? And I think you kind of answered it, because you said it's not more of a direct sunlight thing, but more like a sun to the back kind of thing. And if it's not, it's okay, but it's just ordering the light and finding out later on in Brazil is a nightmare. So I'm just trying to.
I hear you, and that's precisely why I showed the examples that I showed, and it's also why I am the next video. I mean, it's coming out in the next day or two. The next video I'm coming out is showing you when to use it.
Right.
The only thing I would say is I wish, and I said this to Rotolite, and I love them, but you know, this is true of any company. Any company, when they come out with prototypes, it's just the way that it is. Even when I did prototypes with Sony, it's the same. But I wish I was able to use the light at full power capacity right now, because it would give all of you out there, not only myself, but everyone else out there, a better representation of what it can truly do. But you know, you did see the difference in the shots that I showed, where the guy in the bathing suit, you know, it was clearly a much brighter condition.
Yeah.
But you know, if you're shooting beach shots at 10:30 in the morning, I mean, there's a lot of variables that go into that. Like, are there clouds, or is it just direct sun? Because that makes an enormous difference.
Yeah, I mean, Brazil, it's I'm in you know, Barra Tijuca, Rio, Copacabana. Like, the sun is pretty powerful out here. Like, if you don't have sunscreen on every day, you will get burned up.
And now you got Barry Manilow stuck in my head.
So
Copacabana.
because I'm from New York and the sun is never like this, not to this extreme. So it was kind of a shock. I
Oh, I
thought
hear
I
you.
would. There's not really too many places you can go to get the shades on the beach because they're like sprawling beaches. So I said, oh, I'm in a situation here. I'm like, I just need to know. I'm kind of like what I just did another shoot and I'll post it in the group once the pictures are edited. I was in a shoot and it was like an overcast. So in that case, I did kind of use what you said. Even before I heard you today, kind of using as a sun as like maybe a backlight kicker,
Sure.
and then kind of using the shaded area to put those lights into, kind of blast her right there. And that kind of works. So with the Aeos Pro 2s, I think it's probably the best shoot I've done to date, in terms of composition, lighting, and stuff like that. But yeah, it was overcast, so I did kind of get like a bunt right there. But in most cases, moving forward, it probably won't be overcast. So
No, I hear you. I think that to answer your question, the full production model of the Anova Pro 3 is supposed to be twice as bright as the Aeos 2 Pro. But again, I haven't been able to use the full production model yet. So that's what the full production model is supposed to do. In regards to, it just depends. If anyone is, and I love all the different products that I use. We spoke about race cars and swamp buggies, but if anybody expects a Rotolight to do what a 600 watt second monolight can do, it can't. It
right.
can't. You got to use the right tool for the right job, but then there's a lot of things that Rotolights can do that the 600 watt second monolight can't do. So
That's true. Yeah.
it's just using the right tool for the right job.
Right. And let me one other question before I go. Because I'm kind of new because I kind of just moved out here in the end of August. If I were to go into the Kickstarter, and obviously it's international delivery, and I've tried to order like one other electronic, and I got when I saw like the taxes, it was like literally, it was actually the Osmo Pocket 3. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. Let me order it. So it was like $6.99, but the taxes were $6.99. I said, this is crazy. So I'm wondering,
they're selling Osmos on Rotolight?
No. I was just saying as an example. I was ordering electronics.
No, I hear you.
Yeah, it was as much as the item. So is that the case?
I have no idea, brother. I have no idea. You're the crazy dude who moved to Brazil. But I'll have to come visit you sometime. But
please do, man. It's great out here.
No, but I have no idea. I have no idea on that.
Okay, yeah, that's all I need to know because it's like I don't know the Anova Pro is, what is it, $22.99 or something like that?
Yeah, but the only thing I could say is, knowing me, I mean, I know other people. I haven't had to do this since I live in the States, but I know other people who will fly to the United States, buy something, and take it home because that's cheaper than the taxes.
You're actually right. That is literally cheaper. Because now this leaves me in a conundrum. Like now I'm waiting for that 30% to kick in terms of the power. I want to see that. But I don't. When is the Kickstarter thing over?
That is a little bit of a conundrum. I agree with you.
So this is like a soup because now I have to buy a ticket, and then do I get this thing on Kickstarter? Like I'm like cornered, and I don't really.
I'm hoping I can get one of those sooner than later because I understand exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, and I will be watching when you do because I'm on every post talking to Rod. Hey, I need to see this. He's like, all right, so I will be paying close attention. Definitely.
All right, my man. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Good luck on Brazil. I got to come out there and shoot the carnival with you sometime.
Oh man, it's gonna be awesome. Okay.
All right, brother. Be good.
Jason.
Yes, my friend Ian. I can't wait to hear this. You're always you're always a lot of fun, Ian. So this should be interesting for those of you who are watching this. It's about to get crazy.
I am not going to mention Emmerdale then.
Mention what?
Emmerdale.
Emmerdale. Oh yeah. Don't even start with your cows. Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate again what we discussed at Manchester.
It should be rich.
That for people at my end of the spectrum, I don't mean the autistic, I mean the photographic spectrum. As I said to you at Manchester, you can blind a model with an original Neo.
Well, if you're in a dark alley, you can.
Exactly, and
but if you're outside, you won't even see it.
Exactly, I took your point totally and utterly on that one. So, to me, the most important thing that Rotolight can do is to build the Mark IV Neo and Aeos 3 with the Magic Eye, which looks incredible. It really does. I know you've got the app where you can color match at present, but it's not going to do the same as you would with the Magic Eye.
Right.
Obviously, the waterproofing is the other thing as well. If they can incorporate that, and there's something else which I've forgotten about, but don't worry about it. If they can incorporate those two new features in the next versions of the Neo and the Aeos.
What did I forget? I mentioned Magic Eye.
Yeah, they've got the Magic Eye and the waterproofing. There's something else on the Anova Pro as well. Not to worry, but those are the two games, because as we said at Manchester, this the new Anova is obviously targeted at a specific end of the market.
Yeah, no, I hear you, but you know what? It's funny that you say that, because just like the A9 is targeted at not many of us, this to be real. Even when the A1 came out, Sony got pissed off because I called it steak sauce. It's the A1 wasn't targeted, and the A9 III at $6,000. Yeah, I know some people out there who are rich. They're like, oh, that's no big deal. But for most people, it is a big deal. Yeah. So I think that for everyone involved, the hope, and I mentioned this to you in Manchester, the hope is that anytime new gear comes out, I'm like, all right, that's cool. I can't afford that, or that doesn't work for me. But that's some of that is going to trickle down into these other versions of the lights or the cameras that I do use. And so I think that's the benefit of seeing what they're coming out with the Anova Pro 3.
I totally agree. It's just like Formula One, stuff trickles down.
Yeah.
To family can often Formula
just
One.
Like NASA, baby. How do you think we got Tang?
Too true. Cheers, Bucket. I'll leave you alone now.
All right, thank you. Take care, brother.
Will do.
What other questions do you lovely folks have? All right. I'm brand new to outdoor LED. For someone just starting out, which road light would you recommend? I primarily shoot seniors. Aeos 2 Pro. That would be for you, Sandy. Aeos 2 Pro. Excited to see the 2024 workshop schedule. Absolutely. Same here. Me too. What else here? What was this? Do you guys have any more questions, or are you guys good to go? I mean, I can sing and dance for you, but I don't think you guys want that. And we've got, let me see, I'm reading the messages here. Hi, Jason, have you got used to the weight of the Anova Pro 3? Paul. Oh, Paul, he's such a tosser. The Anova Pro 3 is, the great thing about the Anova Pro 3 is that you will get more defined arms. You will get a workout. Back to Ian's point, I do think that for the vast majority of, again, I think that's what's so important. Like the A7 IV is what I use, and it's what the majority of that type of camera is, the majority of what photographers use. That's where the Aeos 2 Pro is, or the Aeos 2. Whereas the A9 III, those types of cameras would be like the Anova Pro 3. It's for a different segment. Well, I've enjoyed this time with you guys. If you have any other questions, let me know, but I have really enjoyed this time with you. I hope this live stream has been beneficial for all of you. I really am looking forward to the 2024 workshop schedule. It's definitely going to be a lot of fun. I'm definitely planning some excursions to some crazy and fun places in the world. This world, as we all see, is blowing up. And so I'm going to do everything in my power just to have fun, to bring some love and peace and some happiness to the world, to let people, no pun intended, blow off some steam and, get away from the rigors of life and be able to enjoy this beautiful thing called life, this beautiful thing called love, and this beautiful thing called photography. So I love y'all. Until next time, keep shooting. Never give up on your dreams. Ever. Never, ever give up on your dreams. And by the way, there's a really good documentary on Netflix about Sylvester Stallone. You guys should watch it. Even if you're like younger or older or whatever you may be, it's a really good documentary. It talks about the things that he's gone through. And it really resonated with me because he talks about, how chasing your dreams is what led him to where he's at today. And it's what's led me to where I'm at. So never give up on your dreams. Find the right gear that works for you. And remember, you only have one chance to get it right. I love you guys. I'll talk to you later. Peace.